my name is Maggie, and I'm 15 this year. And I gotta say, there's a lot of changes when you become 15. First of all, you realize how idiotic your actions in middle school were. And also, you get more and more pages, you get more and more videos on your For You page saying, I'm 15, I'm 25 years old. If you're 50 to 25 years old, please watch this video. You become part of communities like r/I'm 14, this is deep. And people expect you to babysit kids, even though you can hardly take care of yourself. And it's not like a WikiHow article would help. And I gotta say, the most biggest impact to me was that my label became young lady instead of just girl. At least that was for me. And I know that I'm still struggling with this morphing to adulthood process, but a lot of people in my family are also going through a similar change in their lives. For example, my mother. Big year this year, she turned 50. And with that milestone, I heard more and more about coffee not working, about facial cream, about Alzheimer's and weight loss, how she was not going to eat tonight, how she was never going to eat in the rest of her life. All of those are true. And my dad's also 50, but he's well over that part. My sister's also turning 20 this year, so she's in college. She's knowing more people. She's going through new experiences. It's great for her. And I gotta say, when you're at a stage in your life where everybody is going through their own stages, the interactions between you guys are pretty interesting. First of all, when I was 7 years old, my sister was around 12. We would do these sorts of sleepovers. It doesn't make sense because we literally sleep right next to each other. Our rooms are right next to each other, but we still did it because it looked cool. And we would have so much fun during these nights. We'd sleep at like 10 to 9 p.m., whispering and end up drooling on the blankets, but it's okay. And it was all very fun. But now, first of all, no longer 10 p.m. or 9 p.m. My sister sleeps at 12 p.m. and I sleep at 2 a.m. She sleeps at 12 p.m. because she's enriching herself. She's helping improve herself. She's learning, she's studying, she's reading. She's doing all these sorts of wonderful things. And I sleep at 2 a.m. because reasons that we will not specify here. And because in general, I'm more messy than my sister and I sleep at 2 a.m. Over time, the concept of your sweet, loving, cute little sister snuggling next to you on your bed for sleepovers has kind of turned into a concept where my sisters interprets it as you see a large, muddy, dirty dog beneath your carpets. That's pretty much what's happening. So I'm never going on her bed again. And that was one story. Another part was when I was like around 9 years old. And me and my mom were going home from the airport. And basically, she started talking about climate change and how there was a possibility that we would all die on 2050. And as a 9-year-old girl who really only watched BBC Earth, I actually watched a specific episode, and really likes ice cream, I was terrified. So I started crying, I started bawling my eyes out, and my mom asked why. And I said, well, you'll be 70 when you die, and I'll be 40 when I die. I don't want to die that young. And so those are some pretty interesting interactions between us. But there's also some interactions that are less as funny and more focused on what you've experienced. Those moments are slow motion to me. I go through them very slowly. This is in particular my grandpa's death. My grandpa passed away during the height of COVID-19, and it was pretty devastating. My mom would end up crying every single night his condition got worse, and I would hear her talking over the phone with my grandma or with any of her siblings, but she would never say it publicly in front of me and my sister. And in my eyes, my grandpa has always looked ancient. He's had these droopy eye bags, his entire skin is wrinkled, his face looks kind of drippy. And he was developing blindness, and in the two times, I would see him about 2 times every year, I could see the cataract on his left eye just slowly growing. And he was also turning deaf, and that didn't really help because whenever he tried to ask us to restate a question or an answer, we wouldn't really be able to interpret him because he had lost some of his teeth. And so what was intended to be words came out more as mumbles. So when my grandpa passed away, a lot of things happened. My mom had a horrible time. And whenever I asked her, one time she broke down really bad, and I asked her if she was okay. And she said, well, to be honest, I don't know if you understand if I'm okay or not, because you were never close to your grandpa. And he might be your grandpa, but he was my father. And starting that moment, I started realizing that I had never really known my grandpa at all. He would try to make gestures at me. He would try to be closer to me. Like, he would try to talk with me. He would try to, make associations with me. He'd ask me about school, ask me about life. But then, because of the whole dialect issue, because of the whole mumbling, I kind of just brushed those requests for a connection away. And now looking back, whenever I saw him, he would always try to move his face in a way that resembled a smile. So when he passed away, all that was left inside of me was guilt. Guilt that piled up inside of you, that drowned you, that was overwhelming because it went inside the depths of you. Guilt all around you. And I think it hit the most important when I realized that I didn't know him because I couldn't even cry at his funeral. I didn't even attend his funeral, but I couldn't even cry when I got the news. I had no expression at all. I had no emotion. And that just hit like a bullet inside of me. And that was one of the things, which is why I think after my grandpa's death, all that was left inside of me was guilty maturity. And really, maturity is a concept that I don't think I am fit to talk about. I think maturity is a concept for people well over their 50s to even start thinking. I have a grasp of it, I have a vision of it, I have a figment of it in my mind about how it's supposed to look like. But I'm definitely not in the place at all to teach you what maturity is or how does maturity work. But what I can tell you is about realizing and preserving all the things that we've done. These are two parts of myself that I hold to myself very closely. And I'll start with realization, or just realizing in general. Realizing to me is the moment when you realize that you will make mistakes in your life that are even too late to regret it at. For me, that was my grandma, different grandma. For my grandma. So when I was 6 years old, I was an absolute brat. Like, I was the most rebellious kid you've ever seen. And I'd always try some way to get rid of the authority of the people controlling me. And since my mom was too scary, grandma was the next option when she came over for a few months to take care of me and my sister. And I reacted like every single horrible child would. I screamed at her, I shouted at her, I hit her sometimes, I bit her. I was a horrible person. And looking back, when I'm 15 years old, I realized that in the little few specks of time, in the little few moments where I could have actually made a meaningful connection to my grandma, I broke her heart. I broke it into pieces and I hurt her. And that has stuck to me ever since, because growing up is realizing that you make some mistakes that it's too late to fix. Now, I'll be honest, my grandma probably doesn't even remember all the things I did to her back then, but I do. And what hurts more is that even now, even if I mention it to her now, she'd forgive me. Now and then. But that's not the focus, because I still live with my flaws. I live with my mistakes, which is why preservation is so important. Preservation to me is more like taking away all of your mistakes, all of your faults, all of the different failures you had in your life, and putting them on a picture frame. Because I believe that when you make mistakes, when you make all these sorts of flaws, all these flaws inside of you, sometimes they just can't be fixed, which is a case for a lot of my connections with my elderly grandparents. You just can't go back in time and say sorry, not to my grandma anymore at least. And that's the whole deal about preserving. Preserving is seeing what happened and letting it change you. I like to call it cracks, an example, because cracks work in the way that, cracks form over time and over like a piece of pottery or something like that. And it's not like they're completely ignorable. You can't really forget about certain pieces of cracks. And so what happens is that you can't forget anything. They're just stuck with you. So my solution to this was to just deal with it, to see what I can pull from these mistakes, to see what I can make myself a new person out of. And that's my goal today, to talk to you about. You're gonna make some mistakes in your past that will be too late for you to even fix. What you can do is to fix yourself in the present, to make yourself slightly better. For me, it was my grandma. I still try my best to make connections with her. I try to be as nice to her as possible. I try to always be there for her, even though I know that I'll probably never be the perfect grandchild. But at least I'm seeing what I did in the past, and I'm making a change with the present. And so I don't think that any cracks, any flaws of these cracks should not be forgotten. These cracks, they shouldn't be destroyed. I think we should glue these cracks together so that these cracks, they don't cut anybody. They don't scar anybody. They don't hurt anybody. They don't hurt myself. Because cracks are all around us, and we're going to embrace them at some point because they make up you. Cracks are not meant to be forgotten. They're not meant to be thrown away. They're not meant to be ignored. Your past mistakes, your cracks, they're meant to be preserved. They are meant to be protected. They are meant to be remembered. And that's because at the end of the day, your cracks are you. They are you. And that's what I've learned throughout this speech. Thank you.